Okay. Hello, everyone. I've been promising for a while now I would do a end of season walk around on everything I've done on the Wolf Yak this last season and where we stand at now. Lots been changed over the boat over the course of the season. I have some changes I want to do this winter that I'll get around to, but here's where she sits right now. Here's the Wolf Yak. Okay. Well, you can see my motor. I have a trolling motor. I went with the tiller arm control so that I can control it while standing still, where I can still steer. Tiller arm locks in so I can fish hands free while working down the bank still. Relocated the motor, the speed controller head here. Eventually I would like to do a pulse width modulator and mount the speed control knob and things here on the end of this shaft. That's down the future. When I do that, I'll probably mount the PWM box right back here, run the wires along the shaft. You can see rod system. My bump board I just kind of store right behind the ice chest there. And you might be able to notice that I have added an action cam for next year. I just took my first video with it last outing. I have it posted up. Really love the thing. It's a little $28 action cam off of Amazon. Works great. I'll have some footage of that here in the video also. You can see my wheel system. When in the water, bars pull out, turn, slide back in, and the wheels ride along the side out of the water. My seat, which is a custom made scissor lift type of mount. You adjust the height by pulling this out. That locks it into place so the seat can't come up. It is secured down to the ground. The white part's secured to the red stays on the boat through some locking pins. Yes, I know you see some rust. I need to repaint it again. But it will adjust from that hole all the way up to that. There are corresponding holes underneath with some lock pins that hold it into place that come up into these. My cup holder, of course, with my sonar pod area. Some scissor holders I made. And my knife holder, which it can come out just off of that. This is for I can see my action camera footage from while sitting, make sure the camera's capturing what I want. It is a old cell phone mounted inside a shadow box for I can see it. I have it in a Ziploc bag for waterproof. It doesn't have cell service. It's strictly acting as a Wi-Fi link between the camera and a visual screen I can see up here, since clearly I can't see the back of the screen of the camera while sitting in my seat. My depth finder, my front hatch, battery is big old Group 27 up underneath there, so needless to say it will run all my electronics and my troll motor all day long. I've gone 8 hours on it, out running in the middle of Lake Whitney, which is a huge lake. So I was running on high speed for hours on end. Got back and I still had 40% battery left, and that was after like 7 hours on the water using it. Of course, my handle, everything secures with bungees. And of course, my awesome stellar freaking logoing that I've done myself with printed paper, cutout, and spray paint. I like to run an ice chest behind here. It mainly gets used as my tackle crate because I do carry a Playmate cooler back here for lunch and stuff like that. But this can act as a live well if I need to, because I do pull my boxes out, my main boxes out and tackle boxes, and I slide them under the seat or on the sides where I don't have to reach back to change the lures. My shallow water anchor pole that in its stowed position, and then I can pull it out. It comes right into this one and drops down to pin myself in place. It's a 6-foot pole with a little added PVC on the end that actually stops it from just sliding through here. And then you can see the orange pull noodle at the top that acts as a visual aid. And lessons learned, this is on the wrong side of the boat, because I have a tendency as you can tell to catch it with my lure when I'm whipping around casting. So next season I plan on moving the steering and the head, or at least the control head, or if I do pulse width won't be an issue, but that river stick needs to go on the right hand side where it doesn't have a chance of getting caught by a lure on a cast. You can see a couple of ropes here attached to my trolling motor. Okay, these ropes come back here. This is the trim. You can see some knots along it to trim it up. And it's going to act like be stubborn now. To trim it up, I pull it and hook it onto the right pin for running shallow or all the way down. That's shallow running. Super shallow, you can see it actually pulls pretty easy now that it's up. From the seat position, it's a really easy pull. And then all the way down. Okay, the other rope, which isn't really super accessible, but it's only really there for, and I need to pull this up just a little bit. There we go. This is for stowing the motor. It actually pulls the motor up and tilts it all the way out of the water. And once again, I can drop it and slam the motor back down. That's always a joy. You'll have to excuse me. I am trying to do this while holding the camera with one hand in the other. There we go. And that stows the motor up, and it's completely out of the water type position. Let it back down. So I didn't make that one super accessible just because it's only really when I got the boat up out of the water. You can see the rope attaches here. Easy comes off with a carabiner. The trim one comes down through a pulley. It comes down here. I had to drill a hole here to a carabiner here before I attach the rope there. The hole you see down here is where I can put my cable lock in. I run the cable through here, run the cable through the cable back through there, around, and lock it onto the kayak carrier or my storage rack. Adding this back in, I didn't even think about adding that my trolling motor system is all removable too. I'm not going to show you removing everything, but thought I'd show you the head comes off. Unwrap all these wires. And yes, it's not exactly how I planned the wires to go when I made the boat, but another thing for next year is to add a channel for whichever I go. I have a channel at the back for wiring, but it just didn't work out where I wanted it to like I planned. But the PVC of the head here rides into this bracket I made, and there is a simple little bent bolt and a lock nut that goes in and squeezes it and presses in, holds it in place. and just everything just kind of comes off easy. Just this pin comes out, this lock pin, and unclip it, pull it out, and take it off. Rod systems, it actually tilts, as I found on the river. Sometimes I have to lay my rods way back to get underneath trees so I can do that. There are adjustment knobs down here for adjusting the tension. I usually keep it about middle setting where I can just push and pull it and it'll stay in position. This kind of gizmo will probably go away next year. It was just made as a rod, place to stick my rod in before it sticks out. I do have some Scotty type rod holders that mount here and over there. You can see that's in the way of the thing, but I just got to the point and I never used them. But there are holes drilled there, so I might as well leave the mounts in place. So that's the Wolf Yak as it goes here. I'll show you some footage of the action camera right now. I'll switch over to that app. Okay, and here we are back on my phone camera. Here is the mount I was talking about for the action cam. You can see it goes into the pole. I can adjust it via those notches I put in there, and drop the height adjustment on it, turn it into the notch, and it locks in place for it doesn't wiggle inside around. I made the pole fairly long, and I can change the position on the pole if I need it even lower. I can move it down and along here. You'll notice this action cam did not come with a waterproof charging case, just the charging case. I've dremelled a hole in, cut a piece of wood, siliconed it, sealed it, drilled holes and tapped them before I can screw it in, and now I have my USB cable that furnishes power running down. And in the back of the trolling motor, I added a cigarette lighter plug, and this contraption I just had laying around, I will eventually change to a nice and simple little plug-in USB cigarette charger adapter instead of this monstrosity. But for now, what I do to keep everything watertight is I slide all of this into a gallon Ziploc bag and zip it up and tape it up so that all stays watertight. So there is the Wolf Yak end of the year review. Next year, this winter, I'm going to change the speedhead over to the other side, move the river stick over to here. I may change the steering stick over to the other side. We'll see. It just depends. Either way is easy. Unbolt things, move them to the other side. I also want to, if I get around to it, you can see my little back skid plate that's dirt from the yard. It's still in good shape. It's taken some abuse, but it's taken all the abuse since the others. This winter I wanted to cut the runners down to just 2 inches high, and I want to put a semi-V on the bottom. Oh, there's that ugly, you can see all the dirt and stuff crusted on it. Put a semi-V like my son's has on it. That's really the only changes. I'm quite happy with it. The poor man's fiberglass has held up just astoundingly well, and I've used it dragging it over river rocks, dragging across river shoals, limestone, gravel, you name it. I've beat the holy Hades out of it this winter. This season, and it's still going strong. I don't really have any spots that I need to repair on the skin. So that's the full view of the Wolf Yak end of the year. I also promised some people that I would show you how I store my kayaks. Ignore the ugly pallets. And there is my kayak storage. You see the Dakota's the Dec Yak in place on there. It's covered. Steel tubing. Needs to be painted, but to tell you honestly, this tubing has been laying outside for 20 years on the ground, and it's still in good shape. So, yes, I need to paint it. No, it's not going to rust out in a matter of a short time. You can see my runners that the kayaks rest on. Same for his. And it's just on the side we can store our poles. You can see here's an example of how we lock them up with the cable locks through the scupper holes. It keeps them out of the weather for the most part. I find a good deal on some siding. I will skin the side of it to keep, and the ends to keep it fully out of the weather, but it does its job for now. And that's it. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and I'll see you out on the water.